Warning, the following program may contain crude or offensive material. If you are easily offended, please change the station now. This program's views and opinions may not be the views and opinions of this station.
Good Tuesday evening, everybody. Welcome to The Strange Side with Mike and Nate on the Z-Talk Radio Network. My name is Mike.
I'm Nate.
And we sound loud.
Yes, we do.
Let's turn ourselves down. We don't want to torment people too much tonight.
Right.
Let's get right into this. Our first guest, our only guest for the evening, he is with a group that is called WPI Hunts the Truth. They are based in southeast Wisconsin. They've been established since 2007. He's got a whole bunch of stuff on YouTube. We're going to talk about it later on. And he basically he has 4 albums. 3 are certified platinum. And no, I'm just kidding. Our guest this evening, Jay Bachochin. I got it right, didn't I?
Well, thank you. Yes, and yeah, you did pronounce that right.
Hey,
thank
Jay,
you guys.
thanks for coming on tonight.
On.
Hey, thanks for coming on, man. It was kind of short notice. Had a guest lined up, and that guest decided to, they had something else going on, so they kind of bolted on us. So we kind of scrambled, and you were, thank God you were able to come on.
Well, I hope I can deliver.
Oh, you'll deliver, no problem.
Mike and I are both recovered from our illnesses. We had to cancel the show last week. Both of us caught, something. I think we were a victim of alien probes.
Ebola?
I think it was alien probes.
Alien probes. Yeah, that might have been your house, Nate, not mine. All right, so anyways, kind of looking over your bio and stuff, you guys were established in 2007. You said you're a transplant from Illinois. Were you involved in the paranormal down while you were in Illinois?
No, not at all. As a matter of no, I can't say I was involved in a group or anything like that. I mean, I pretty much, lived the paranormal my whole life. Just never did it professionally or anything like that. We didn't start doing this until 2007, but I was already a transplant up here in 2003 from Illinois.
Okay. Before we continue, God, oh man.
We're like 4 minutes in, and Mike's already tripping on his.
Oh my goodness,
it's a bad sign.
Well, before we get really going on the interview, if you folks want to join us in the chat room, please go to. Well, you're obviously at www.ztalkradio.com. At the top of the page, there's a listen and chat. Scroll down to about halfway down the page or so, and you'll see a little chat box. Yeah, sign up, join us. You have any questions for Jay Bachochin tonight? We will read them on the air for you.
And I'm impressed that you can say my name perfectly. It usually gets hacked quite a bit, or it's been hacked my whole life. So.
To be honest,
great job.
Before we went on, I was doing like a Ron Burgundy thing at the beginning. I was like, Bachochin, Bachochin.
And
then it just comes out Bachochin. Very good, very good.
It does. I'm so anybody could slaughter this. Dude, my name has 4 letters in it, right? And people slaughter it all the time.
That was some nice little bebop you threw out there.
That was scatting, baby.
You were like Scatman Crothers.
I was. Except I'm still alive and I'm white.
I may put an axe in your back before the end of the show. So,
well, thanks.
We never know.
I appreciate that.
You know what might happen.
Excellent. I guess. Okay, so you were in Illinois. Weren't involved in the paranormal or anything. What got you into the paranormal? Did you have your own experience?
I've had what I usually tell people, and you would read that on my bio on my website, but you know what? Ever since the 70s, the black and white silver screen, the creature features, I have always been interested in anything supernatural or, paranormal in nature, So did I have any experiences? Yeah, I would say in 1975 in my hometown in Lindenhurst, Illinois, my family and I witnessed something so unique in the sky. I mean, you classify it as a UFO because it was unidentified, but there was 5 of us all watching it, and we still talk about it to this day, that we can sketch it out and whatnot. But it was really cool because it wasn't your normal. You look up at the sky, you think you're seeing a plane. You don't know if it's a plane, maybe a satellite. What is this? No, this thing was actually spinning, turning off its lights, being across the sky, and then just hovering there, turning off and across the sky again. And it would do this several times. So we watched it for a good, about 10 minutes. So that's why it's so vivid in our minds. That was, that was one of them. Another one I had, I was a little bit younger, probably about 8 years old. Me and a neighborhood friend of mine, he was a little bit younger than me. We were just kids. We were playing with our little Star Wars action figures. And we're sitting by his window, bright, sunny, blue sky. And I kid you not, everything just went black for about 5 seconds. Now, I noticed it, but then I looked at my friend, who then looked at me and said, did everything just go dark? Again, we're just kids. How do you comprehend that? But I still remember it. So I don't know what it is. Again, paranormal just doesn't mean ghost. Paranormal means not normal, and that was definitely not normal. So that's how I've just always had that interest in my life of following anything from the cryptids to ghosts to UFOs. Later on learning in life about, the fringe science that we're doing, all these different things. If it's weird in nature, I'm there.
Now, most people will classify themselves as, a ghost hunter or a, cryptozoologist or a Fortean researcher. It seems like you tackle the whole spectrum.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I mean, you do. You have the ufologists that are just focusing on that, or the cryptozoologists, or the ghost hunters, or what they call them as paranormal investigators, of course, related to ghosts. I actually came up with a new one. I'm a truthologist.
Truthologist. I like that.
A truthologist. I actually straddle the fence between skepticism and belief. And I know a lot of people say they do, and maybe it's just because it hasn't. And I don't know. Maybe it's just because it hasn't come up and bit me yet, which I'm hoping that wouldn't hurt. But at the same time, I do what I do because I believe in the possibility of the ghost phenomenon, which I have experienced definitely since 2007. Definitely the cryptids, which I'm currently doing now in southeast Wisconsin, in the Kettle Moraine. It's, and of course the UFOs, I've seen 6 of them in my lifetime, and some in Antioch, Illinois. So yeah, you're right. I do. I take the whole spectrum. I don't like to be labeled as just one thing. So that's why I came up with truthologist. It works.
Now, what exactly is the what sort of case do you seem to end up researching more? I know right now you're doing a lot of cryptid research. Do you tend to get those cases more than ghost cases or UFO cases?
Yeah, early on in 2007, probably up until about 2011, we do have a website, and there was a request line on there, and we would get quite a few requests, from residents or business owners that we would go out and help, set up, search, try to investigate for an evening, see if we can capture anything to help us further our study in hunting the truth. And I would say maybe 8 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10 of the times it would just be quiet. But since 2011, and I don't know if it's just because of the ghost, the phenomenon that kind of started out with ghost hunters, it seems like things are kind of calming down a little bit. You know what I mean? It seems like everybody and their uncle became a group and started doing this, which is fine. But then all of a sudden we're getting, saturated with different teams out there. And what we've always tried to do is just try to be the credible organization that would come out to help and try to stick with that, not just do an investigation for one night, but maybe come back and do frequent visits and help them journal. But again, those are by request. So the requests have really kind of died down a little bit to where we're really not going out as much anymore, not like we used to in the early times. But then again, we've got the kettle and a bunch of other things that we could kind of look into. And once you start looking into this, and once you start going down this rabbit hole, it's really compelling to try to get out of it. Of course, if my neighbor came running out and said his couch was flipping around in the inside, and I'd go over there in a heartbeat. Or if you're in my hometown, we find out a UFO was spotted or landed, I'd be doing that. Or just anything. I'll jump on anything. It kind of spreads myself thin, but they all don't come at one time.
Yeah.
They're basically here or there type of things. But I figured, hey, you know what? It's a long life. I'm in no rush. I'm not trying to do quantity. I'm trying to do quality investigation work.
Now, are you receiving any have you noticed you're getting more inquiries about coming out to look at someone's property because they've had a strange creature sighting, or are you getting tips for creature sightings in your hotline now?
Yeah, and basically I have been getting some to where they're sending me trail cam photos of what they're seeing, going out to visit their property, trying to investigate, research around there to see any notable marks or anything like that, interview the witnesses, because that's first and foremost. Emails and requests can only say so much. Even phone calls can only say so much. So I try to get out to see anybody who's actually looking for a request. Some are a little bit further than I can travel. I mean, of course, this is all on my dime and my time, which I love to do, but I've got to be real too. So, I'll travel so many hundreds of miles, but, when it starts getting out of state and whatnot, what I'll do is I'll look to see what the case claim is. If it's ghost related, try to help them find another source. I'm actually working with another paranormal team down in Illinois, and any cases that I could help them solve getting down there, or vice versa, they help me up here. And as far as the UFOs, we can already forget that because the government's already got that that market cornered. So those are always the hard ones. But when I do know of a sighting, I'm actually going out there just in case. Maybe it's lingering around for another day or two. Who knows?
Now, one thing that me and Mike have kind of touched on this show is how paranormal TV shows were huge, and now they're. I think the market was glutted with them, and people are kind of worn out, and so it's kind of rescinding now, where you only have the one or two top shows. But and now it seems like those producers have glommed on to Bigfoot sightings, cryptid sightings.
Right. Yep.
So do you think the fact that you're getting more strange creature reports now as opposed to less ghost reports has to do with the fact that that cryptozoology is kind of almost replaced, ghost hunting and pop culture right now? Do you think that's possible?
Yeah, I really do, because when we started in 2007, I believe Ghost Hunters was the only ghost show that was on TV. And when we started this, the first thing me and my wife, who's Katie, who's my co-founder, and my wife, so the first thing that we said is, we're not trying to be a Jason and a Grant, and that was our first and foremost. We wanted to be able to hunt the truth for ourselves and network with those who shared the same passion. But of course, since 2007, what do we have in 2008, 2009? Ghost Adventurers, and then Ghost Lab. And you're right, it just became saturated, and it's been like that. But there's still a few shows on there now. I just heard of one that they were trying to cast, trying to come out with a new show called either Naked and Afraid Ghost Hunters or Naked Ghost Hunters.
I'm trying to get Mike to audition for that, but so far no.
Yeah.
They didn't say they were doing it in widescreen, so.
No, okay, so I take it you got the same email.
I didn't get an email, but I had a lot of people show it to me, and I'm like, nah, you don't want me to try out for that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I got that too, but over time you start looking at the production companies trying to find a new niche, just to try to keep the the dying ghost, no pun intended there, trying to keep it as popular as it was. But you're right, I think that became diluted, and coming up with the new cryptid monsters, even some UFO shows. And you're right, I think now people are more self-aware, like they were about ghosts. Now they are about Bigfoot and other different cryptids out there. So, if my name's attached to something online, it would come, to me, or, to whoever, really. But I would say that's why we're getting more requests like that, too. And believe me, they don't come like the ghost requests came back, a couple years ago. They're still there, but those are the more interesting ones, because, when you go to someone's house, a lot of these ghost hunters are coming into the house and investigating for 5 or 6 hours, which we did. But over time, you have to evolve, and I started finding out, researching the kettle at any time I wanted to go out there, is I've been investigating the Kettle Moraine for about 18 months, and I really think that when people start investigating actual houses and hauntings and things like that, I don't think you're going to find them in one night. That's how come I think there should be frequent visits and, constant contact, and having the homeowners keep journals, going back and just keep doing that, because, that's how you're hunting the truth, not for the adrenaline, but for some answers.
Yeah. When going back to the whole, the height of the paranormal and stuff, I went and saw Jason and Grant from Ghost Hunters were at the Riverside Theater, which is in Milwaukee. And this was like 2012 or something like that. And they almost had that whole theater filled up. They're coming back around, I believe it's this week.
Yeah, this weekend. Friday,
and they're playing. They're going to be doing their presentation at the Pabst Theater, which is a much smaller venue. So, the paranormal, it's just, it got so saturated, and there was so much paradrama going on. A lot of people just, said, this ain't worth it. The people that are truly invested and care, and they're still around, All these other people who just kind of jumped on the bandwagon, they're kind of like, they fell off it.
Right. Well,
and some of these shows are so, like, how many episodes can you get out of a premise like a haunted mine shaft? So,
well,
just keep digging.
And the thing is, you can't. Here's what I go by, and this is actually what I teach my 7-year-old son, who's going to be a great hunted truther or truthologist, because he knows what Daddy does, and I think he respects it. I think he gets it. Is that of course, we can't believe everything we see on TV or the internet. Bonjour.
It's not real?
Everything. Yeah, right. Well, exactly, right? So, anytime finding Bigfoot would come on, it's kind of a guilty pleasure. I understand it's TV and it's entertainment, but, sometimes it's just kind of fun to watch something that you have a passion for, but not buy into it, because I understand the power of suggestion. Is somebody tells you that there is a ghost in that house, any sound you hear is going to be a ghost. And when you're out in the woods, just because you're watching Finding Bigfoot and you're following this, every sound you hear out there is going to be a Bigfoot watching you, when you're out in the outdoor world. That's an uncontrolled environment and full of wild animals and wind and trees, and you just gotta think straight. And actually, I don't even know where I was going with that. That's how much I can babble.
I can bail you out on that. This should have been a golden age for a person like me, because I used to I used to stare at the calendar for October, because that's when all the paranormal and cryptozoology shows came on. I'd make a schedule, make sure I was home. We didn't have, I couldn't afford a DVR back then. Those things were like $1 billion at the time, and but it's all reality TV, and reality TV is not reality. Like, I just want to turn on the TV and see some dramatic reenactments and some talking head, some lady with a bad haircut telling you about what she experienced. Because when you have all these people running around with their cameras, and they're getting all this amazing evidence every single week. There's no way I can believe it. This stuff doesn't happen very often.
Right, and the thing is, and I'm going to tell you, we did get a taste of that. If you're a Deadliest Catch fan, from the Discovery, during, I think it was right after last season, they actually put on Deadliest Catch Unplugged. And it literally was a camera on the deck.
That's what I want.
That's all you watch. Well, the thing is, I think me and my wife watched about 5 minutes of it because it was so boring. And I understand that. If you followed a camera crew with me out in the woods on being legitimate, it would be just the same way. You're just kind of walking around and observing and listening and looking for tracks and marks. And same thing as if you're going to go sit in, grandma's basement to talk to a ghost through, try to get an EVP. You're not always going to get those. And, I know they have the different equipment out there now, the Ovilus and all those other ones, but I always had such a tough time with those because, well, really nobody's ever really come to the absolute 100% conclusion of what a ghost is. And, is it a dead person? Maybe. Is it something from a different dimension or a different time? They're flesh and blood, but we see them for a second? Possibly. I don't know. I don't have the answers, and that's basically what just keeps me going. It's what drives me.
Yeah, I think it's the mystery that compels everyone because, it's going to be if anybody ever does prove Bigfoot or one of those creatures exists and it becomes part of the known fauna, and you're eventually able to go down to the San Diego Zoo and see the Sasquatch named Emily. Or
right.
or Bud, or Bud the Sasquatch, or whatever cute name they give it.
How about Barney?
Barney, yeah. You're not going to have that mystery, and it's just going to. It would be great to finally have an answer, but as sure as if one of those things becomes known science, something else, some other mystery will captivate pop culture. That's if Bigfoot becomes known, then everybody's going to turn their attention. Well, now we really got to find, that chupacabra or what have you,
or Pippi the lake monster.
Yeah,
yeah. You're right, and that's just about it. You wonder on how many mysteries, and I'm not even saying cryptid ghosts or UFOs, but how about all the different species of animals on planet Earth that we have not discovered yet? That honestly, that's kind of a cool thing to see too when they finally discover them. Now, I'm still waiting for them to find the 8 to 9 foot giant bones, the giants in search of giants that everybody claims that have been out there, but yet there's not one bone to show.
Yeah.
Of what the proof is.
Yeah, there's a legend that they unearthed bones like that here in West Bend back. The oldest story I've heard about it was written in 1912. But yeah, of course the bones disintegrated when they turned to air. So supposedly, if they were real
that's
at
what
all.
they say. Either that, or they were given up to the museum, and all of a sudden they're just, because it's a big major cover up. Because of course, if we learn about ghosts and UFOs and cryptids or Bigfoot, then all of a sudden
what are we going to do?
The government cover-up thing to me only works. That theory only works for UFOs, because I think if people know that there are intelligent life forms that are our superiors visiting the planet, they would freak out initially. But no one's going to start rioting in the streets if they find out that there's a Sasquatch in the Pacific Northwest, or that there's there used to be a race of 9 foot tall Native Americans. Nobody's going to start looting because of that. So that whole giant cover-up thing doesn't work for me personally.
Well, and the thing is, the biggest thing is what I've always said is it's conditioning.
Yeah.
So right now, if I woke up tomorrow morning and I heard there was a mile-wide UFO sitting over Milwaukee, it'd be freaky, but I wouldn't be surprised because we're conditioned. If somebody really did capture a Bigfoot, I wouldn't be surprised. You know what I mean? It would be like, oh, well, okay, there it is. This is what we've been looking for. Here's the Holy Grail right there. And okay, why didn't we know about any of this before? And whether it's a cover up for mankind or our history, the history we've learned from kids all the way up until now, that's all thrown out the window if any of these things come about. Because like you said, if there's 8 or 9 foot tall Native Americans, why do they have double rows of teeth? Why do they have 6 fingers?
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? That right there, that would be like, well, okay, what is this? Why is this being hidden from us? And it's exactly what you were saying.
Well, you see, I think more people, your average person, the person who has no interest in the Fortean world, if all these things did come to light except for the UFO stuff, I think it would be curiosity. Like, okay, there did used to be 9 foot tall Native Americans, so let's find out as much as we can about this. But the UFO thing, I think that potentially initially could cause some War of the World type freakouts.
Well, exactly. Sometimes I think, did the Wright brothers really invent, flight for mankind, like history says, or have we really had the technology? I'm not trying to use like, an Avengers Hail Hydra type of thing back there, but what if there was technology like that to be able to fly and zip around since, the early 1900s, and all the UFOs that we're seeing is, it is not extraterrestrial. It's us.
I mean, it is possible that maybe a civilization had this knowledge and lost it. I mean, it's possible we had it, lost it, found it again.
We're going to take our first break for the evening, Jay. Hold on just a second. When we get back from our break, we're going to talk a little bit about the hidden truth, which I find very interesting. I've kind of followed this thing since the inception, actually. I kind of had my own little thoughts about it and then noticed that you actually did some stuff on it as well. So we'll talk about that when we get back. You're listening to The Strange Side with Mike and Nate. Our guest tonight is Jay Pachochin from WPI Hunts the Truth, and we will be back in a couple of minutes, folks. Stay tuned.
Sitting in the passenger seat, and apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable, but how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Man, last night we put on an epic light show.
So epic.
The crowd loved us.
Wait, there were only 4 people out there.
Yeah, but did you see their 4 faces? Their eyes lit up brighter than ours, and we're fireflies.
Yeah, we are.
And we're gonna be out here rocking out our light show at a forest near you, so come check us out.
Check us out.
Whether you're rocking their world or they're rocking yours, some memories never fade. Come alive with the forest. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
So when you get to the corner of Smith and Orchard, you're going to want to take a left.
You are not going to.
Then what you're going to
this.
do is turn onto Marcy Avenue.
Just broke up
and go past the first 3
she's
lights
happy
and then
about
take
it.
the next left.
I don't really
then drive
think
5
she's
more
happy,
blocks
but
and you should be
who
there.
am I to judge, right?
Park on the
Anyway,
right.
That's
I'll
what
see
I
you
heard
later
last
tonight.
night.
It's hard to concentrate on 2 things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I know you don't really know me.
That's true.
Welcome back to The Strange Side with Mike and Nate on the Z-Talk Radio Network. Our guest tonight, in case you just tuned in, is Jay Pachochin. There we go.
You had it
Screwed
right
it
the
up. I
first
had it
time.
going good. Jay Pachochin from WPI Hunts the Truth. Thanks again, Jay, for coming on
You
kind of
betcha.
such short notice, I would have to say. We've only got Jay for like an hour. The first hour, maybe go over a little bit. He's got something that's going on tonight, but once again, like I said, thanks for coming on. the thing that struck me as I was reading your bio is you started talking about the hidden truth, which is
I think that probably needs to be unpacked for some of the listeners that may not be familiar with it.
Tell us about the hidden truth, because I've kind of followed this since the beginning, and each time I heard a new or saw a new clip in the paper or whatnot about another incident, I was kind of like, that's really weird that it's happening in such a concentrated area. So tell the listeners about that.
Okay, well, basically, the hidden truth, with a question mark, mind you, because that's not saying that's what it is, it's what it could be. There's actually a full documentary that me and Neil Sanders out of La Crosse, Wisconsin, and Scott Marcus out of L.A. actually put together starting in 2010. We were contacted by Neil Sanders, who was he's a retired chief deputy medical officer out there at the time, and basically it's about 10 young boys, I don't want to say young boys, college students that have actually drowned in the Mississippi right in front of La Crosse with no known foul play or anything like that. It's kind of one of those unsolved mysteries because each one of them is kind of found right, within that vicinity there. You have Winona right up the Mississippi, just as much drinking and partying and binge drinking, yet no deaths. And right across the river from Winona is a really nice family spot beach that, kind of goes in where you can actually swim and stuff. So this is all kind of happening right in front of La Crosse. And Neil contacted me in February 2010 because it was the last place you could really look. The police, the FBI searching, coroner's reports, no foul play. It's just a mystery on how these drownings are happening. So we went out there and we actually did several investigations out there. In fact, even on the Mississippi, and using our different pieces of equipment, trying to see if we can get any type of EMF spikes or any type of EVPs, anything visual. And we didn't really come with anything with a smoking gun. We have caught a few different anomalies that we're out there, which is on our documentary, which is available on DVD. But just an incredible story throughout. No matter if we found a smoking gun or not, we don't know if we did. That's the reason why it's the hidden truth with a question mark, because could this be a paranormal event? Could there be something, in the waters? You're thinking lake monsters, Medusa, something in the water, and maybe Lorelei, they're calling out that only a certain person can hear if they're intoxicated, going down to help somebody, or again, could it just be coincidence? And that's what a lot of people are thinking, but a lot of people are not happy with that answer. And yet it happened again this year. And the same demographic of student, it's always a male, anywhere between 20, 24 years old. And so it's never a female. So it's kind of an unsolved mystery. In fact, we're keeping our ears to the grindstone too, and listening if any new reports have been coming out. But as you have heard, like you said, some of these are now starting to even pop up, up in Green Bay, Milwaukee, Chicago. So some people are thinking, is this I-94 corridor killer, a serial killer? Is it a group of people? And again, there is just no evidence anywhere of any foul play or any leads. So no matter how you look at that, it's not normal, which is a paranormal instance. But yeah, we do have the documentary up on our website. Actually, it's a different website, but it is for sale.
Have all of the victims tested? Were they all really, really drunk? I mean, what were their blood alcohol levels?
They were all different, pretty high in some instances. But the one odd thing about that, it's not even the one odd thing. It's the one thing that you can put together is that they were intoxicated and pretty highly. Craig Myers in 2010 was actually captured on one of the street cams. It was like the last known footage of him leaving wherever he was going at the time before he ended up in the river, just walking by himself. And his was pretty high too. He, just watching him walk down the sidewalk, it's kind of hard because it's not, the frames per second is not fluent like you would normally, take a video or whatnot. But it almost looked like he was just walking straight or even almost skipping. It was really odd. And that was the last known footage of that. And usually if you have an intoxication level, pretty high, you're going to fall off the bar stool. You're not going to be able to walk, or you're going to, I'm going to say you could actually have you could die from alcohol poisoning being that drunk. Yet these boys somehow are finding their way from the bars down to the Mississippi, and yet
which is blocks away, right? I mean, these bars are at least a couple blocks away.
Yeah, I mean, they're a couple blocks away, and a lot of their, a lot of people, they have a river watch down there now on certain nights of the week, and they actually have people patrolling Riverside Park to be able to stop anybody from coming in. If it's after 11 p.m., you are not supposed to be in there, and they do have people patrolling it. And when we were actually investigating, it had to have been about 12:30, and actually we were doing a little testing experiment at the bar ourselves, so we were kind of woohoo. But we were trying to get to the character of what was going on, and we were actually in the park at midnight, a little after midnight. A cop just drove by, didn't even look at us, didn't even put his brake on.
Yeah.
So that was kind of odd.
Yeah.
I mean, that town is such a party town that I think the cops don't pay any attention to drunk people, and I think that allows them to either injure themselves or perhaps be victimized by whatever's going on, depending on what exactly is happening.
Well, and this is true, and that's always been, La Crosse is a party town. It's where people binge drink, but every college town is a party town. I mean, think about it. And a lot of them are located on rivers. This is where we're trying to piece everything together. Not saying that every single one of these other drownings similar to this, in other parts other than La Crosse are the same. But, we went up to Winona and went on their levee, which is even more dangerous. It looks like you could almost just literally walk down to Levee Park, and I mean, there's the water, and it's super deep right there, close to 20 feet. So if you did fall in there, even if you were sober, you'd be whisked away. So how come there are no deaths or any drownings or accidental in Party Town Winona?
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is what we're just trying to put all the pieces together. We don't have the absolute answer. Again, thus the reason for the question mark. But a lot of this doesn't make sense that it's all happening right in front of La Crosse. Now, a paranormal angle on that would be the body of water. You've heard that the body of water creates a lot of energy and a lot of paranormal activity around that. But in this case, after talking to the Native Americans out there, the Ho-Chunk elders, right in front of La Crosse, there's three rivers that meet right in front of it, which is the Mississippi, the Wisconsin, and the Black River, and they all converge directly in front of La Crosse. Again, is that a smoking gun? Just because we've heard that running water, lake, big body of water, has a lot of energy that can, produce or maybe manifest something paranormal. I mean, we don't know, but it's all happening in front of La Crosse. So again, we're trying to put all this stuff together.
Do you know of any reports of it happening on the other side of the river, like let's say St. Paul or?
No.
On the Minnesota side?
Right, and that's what we haven't. There has been a drowning, but again, different demographic of the age group, older man or in a boat, because again, you're on the Mississippi or any body of water and enough boats and whatnot, you're going to have your accidents. We're just trying to focus more on this age group, and they were all white Caucasian males, so in this case, we can't try to link the other ones together. We're just focusing on the La Crosse right now. But the whole spectrum has opened up, Milwaukee, Chicago, Green Bay, where there has been a young, 21, 22-year-old missing. Just all of a sudden, he's out partying, and next thing you know, it's like, hey, where's John? And he's missing for a couple of days, and he's ending up in the river.
Yeah.
So, and this is starting to become a little bit widespread. So therefore, is it, the serial killer? That would seem the most, I would think that would be the most, rational explanation. However, there has been no signs. Even these two retired detectives out of New York who've been on the case for several years trying to find any evidence have really not come up with anything. They say they have, but there's no leads and there's nobody behind bars and the story hasn't broke yet. So the serial killer thing, I've got to kind of throw that out right now. I think it is something different. I really do.
I remember hearing one of the victims, something about that they didn't want to have to walk the extra block or two to get to the bridge to cross over the river, so they decided to go try swim across it. Do you remember hearing anything about that?
No, I think, even if you were really drunk, and it all depends on how drunk
I wouldn't be
get.
Swimming, man.
Exactly. Come on, we've all been drunk, and even though we say our inhibitions is low, we still kind of know what's going on. I know a lot of people might drink to, the blackoutism, but in this case, it's a big body of water from one side to the other. Plain and simple. Hey, Minnesota, how you doing? You look like a little dot over there. So anybody who's really going to try to just, avoid the extra block, I haven't heard that. There was one case where one of the victims actually, they found some of his belongings, like his wallet and, hat and stuff, almost like he was taking it out so that wouldn't get wet.
Yeah.
Again, that's kind of the mystery. That's almost like the Lorelei syndrome, where maybe there's a calling, and I'm going to jump in and rescue you. Let me just take out my cell phone, my wallet, and everything else. Let me jump in after you. It didn't seem like any. That was, again, no explanation of why that happened.
Now, did you find any evidence in the community that there is, not necessarily a paranormal explanation, but how folklore kind of jumps a hold of this? Are there murmurings amongst people in the community that something is luring, something unearthly is luring the kids down to that water, or is that something that's just a theory at the present?
Well, I'll tell you that I would say the majority, more of the consensus would be serial killer or, a rogue cop. Again, that's just affecting La Crosse. It doesn't affect all these other areas. The Native Americans, the Ho-Chunk, they have a different theory on what it could be, and they actually think it's a water spirit. And since it's really hard to comprehend their beliefs sometimes, because, it's ancient, right? Those are just ancient beliefs, but, they actually believe something comes up and takes its offering, every winter, the winter months, which a lot of these drownings happen, between the fall, and the winter over there. But that's one of the possibilities. Now, we did uncover back in La Crosse, right off the levee, believe it, if my memory serves me, it was like 1884 or something. I believe it was right around that date. Don't quote me on the exact dates, because I try to stick up on everything. But actually, a steamboat called the War Eagle was docked on the levee, and something caught fire with the barrels and actually put the War Eagle ablaze. Everybody got out except for one young lady. She was 18 years old. Her name was Mary Ehrlich, and she's actually buried right there in La Crosse in one of the cemeteries there. And so we're trying to go on that angle too, saying, okay, here was a tragedy because she was a young woman. I believe she was getting ready to get married, so it was an untimely death. And, so she died right there while everybody else got to safety. So we actually took, a boat out and did some little sonograms down there to find out where exactly the War Eagle was, which we were able to find the very large hump and mass of where it would have gone down, but it's been left there and preserved there. But again, is this a ghostly claim? Is this where the untimely death happened and her spirit resides there? Maybe she's the one in the water just crying for help, and maybe we can't hear it, on a normal level, but when you're intoxicated or, if you're high or whatever, maybe there's a different sense there that these people can hear, and maybe she's crying out for, a man to save her, and maybe that's why it's the guys. Again, this is all just speculation, and we're trying to find every angle, and, during our boat investigation, we did catch an EVP, which is on the DVD. I don't have that on YouTube or anything. That actually, I don't even want to tell you what it sounds like, because that would be power of suggestion. You would have to find out for yourself. But it was kind of odd, and we could not debunk what that was.
There is a question in the chat room by Sanjay.
Yes, Sanjay.
He wants to know, were all the victims Caucasian males? I think they were, right?
They were up until this last one in June, which I believe he was. I think he was black. He was not a white Caucasian in this one, so that's the only one that's kind of thrown off. But he did fit the age group, and everything else seemed to fit right there. So, this one is kind of like, okay, well now it's no longer white males. Now it might be moving. So does that really result in the serial killer, which is going to keep doing the same thing, right? It's not going to kind of mix it up, especially since 1997. So all of a sudden now it changed a little bit. But that was the very last death. I think it was actually August, because we actually did our first premiere showing in Onalaska, Wisconsin. And we actually showed the film there, and had over 300 plus people that came to see this that showed the interest in it. And what's kind of hard about that is we were already marketing it, saying we were going to be there to show this. And after we did that, I think it was like a week or two later is when the tragedy happened. And then all of a sudden all the talk started coming up again. It's almost like the TV, if the TV's popular, everyone's calling for ghosts or Bigfoot or whatnot. In this case, people realized, here we go again. It's been since 2010, and it was 2014, so it was a 4-year gap. Here we go again. And a lot of people came to come and see it, though, which I was kind of really impressed about, since we're just trying to put this out there actually for safety more than trying to get this on TV or, try to make $1 million off it or anything like that. We were putting this together because it was such a unique story.
Well, kind of going back to the whole, the fact that this newest person is a little bit of an anomaly in that they have a different colored skin. It is also possible that maybe if there was a serial killer at work, maybe this latest one is an accidental drowning that kind of has now muddied the waters. Not to make a pun, since we're talking about a very muddy river.
And I'm telling you, and that's very true, except that, he was intoxicated and he went missing.
Yeah.
So everything followed suit to what that was.
And he was found in the river, right? This latest fellow?
Yes, he was. Okay. Yep, right there in La Crosse. And so, you could say that it was, an accident. You could say a lot of these could be accidents, but, they're starting to fit this pattern now. Now, here, one of the big kickers that we have found out, again, explained more in the documentary, because, we could talk all night, but in the documentary is that we did find out in Riverside Park, they weren't keeping tabs on it, but when we did interview them, they actually have stopped over close to 1,500 people in about 3 years. That's their best estimate, but they don't make reports of it. And they really don't say, they were all guys, they were all, this age, or they were all white, or whatever. They just say they stopped some people that don't even realize they're down there, almost snap out of it like they're in a trance, because they're drunk, and they're like, well, okay, all right, I'll go back home. And next thing you know, they're leaving the park. So there could have been more, so we're really happy that, that Riverwatch is out there, and they're still out there currently today, too. So, but again, just very odd.
Yeah, I mean, this is certainly more than anything I think that we've ever talked about on this show is really a case for Mulder and Scully. Not to make light for it, but this really does seem like something straight out of the X-Files, where there should be a couple of people in nice suits coming down there with those huge walkie-talkie sized telephones
or
and those
Sam
huge
and Dean
lights
Winchester.
and investigating this. I mean, whether it's paranormal, whether it's a serial killer, or whether it's just a lot of weird accidents, it almost seems like it's right out of a Hollywood script.
Well, and it really does. That's what makes the story so intriguing. It's not that you're trying to put this thing on TV or Netflix or anything like that to say, all right, show us the Medusa of the water. We want to see. It's just the story in itself it's compelling. It's intriguing. And there still is no answer till this date. So why do we have a documentary out? Because we believe we covered, a good portion. And the reason why I say good is because we've kind of been done filming for probably about 2.5 years and going and getting last minute evidence or not evidence, but information. And but it's still kind of coming in here or there. So it's almost like we're almost ready to start filming a sequel to follow up this one, just because we don't know. We want to find the smoking gun, but we really want to make the documentary to make people aware that maybe it isn't just binge drinking and bad luck that they had accidental drownings, or maybe a lot of people think it's a serial killer, but hey, think out of the box here for a second. Could it be this with this what we're proposing? And we're not trying to convince anybody of anything. We're just trying to state the facts. I mean, the whole documentary is facts. Our budget was whatever money we had in our own bank accounts, which was not a lot. So, it took time. We've had to fly Scott Marcus out countless of times from L.A., out to here. So, nothing's cheap, but, we're happy that it's done, that people can actually view it now. But we'd be more happier finding the absolute answer.
Now, a friend of mine was a big supporter of the serial killer theory, and one thing that he had, I don't know if a friend of his had discovered this or if he read about it somewhere. It was years ago when he brought this up to me, but he noticed that a lot of these mysterious disappearances, not only in Wisconsin, but in other locales not too far from here, and I can't remember the exact places or even dates because it was so long ago since we had this conversation. But he noticed that, his source noticed that a lot of these disappearances, are along major trucking routes. You mentioned earlier maybe the I-94 corridor type killer,
right?
And a lot of these places in other states are along major highway shipping routes. So he had theorized that maybe there's some serial killer who's a truck driver, and there have been a few of those that have been discovered in the past that are out that's traveling around and likes a certain type of male of a certain variety and is claiming these victims. And if there is any truth to that, I mean, this person would have to be probably one of the most prolific, monsters in history, I think.
Well, and that's just it. My biggest thing is, they can find, a grain of sand, or in other countries, with satellites and with the way, the CIA works, and they just our FBI, or who knows if there's an X-Files or whatnot, but, it's been a long time coming, and I understand, I don't think what the Zodiac killer, serial killer was ever found, but, in this case, there is still not one lead of trucks, man, anything. I mean, there's a lot of people around, and, if this person's hanging out, outside of a bar just waiting for one guy to come out, you're telling me not one person anywhere saw just a strange individual there, or maybe it could be individuals. Again, I'm not saying that it couldn't be. I'm just saying it's been since 1997, so, we're talking, what is that, 15, 16 years now? And it's still going on, and there's still no leads. And, you go down there, and we try to approach the authorities in a nice way, not coming here saying, hey, we're Ghostbusters, man, or we're the X-Files. But they wanted nothing to do with it. It's very taboo to talk about the river drownings, period, in La Crosse especially. It's really hush-hush. It's really quiet, kind of suffocating whenever this stuff comes up. When this stuff kind of goes away for a year or two, which always happens, things lighten up. They always have Oktoberfest out there. Things are grand. But as soon as something like this happens, the darkness falls over the land, and then, the stories start popping up again like wildfire of, here comes a serial killer, here it comes again. Is it? Somewhere, sometime, there's got to be a lead. And so far, there's been nothing.
Wow. Interesting. I do have another question for you from the chat room, but we're going to wait until the after the top of the hour break, which is coming up right now, actually.
Okay.
So you're going to stick around for another 15 minutes or so?
Yeah, I can do that for you, sure.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jay. Appreciate it. You're listening to The Strange Side with Mike and Nate on the Z-Talk Radio Network. Our guest tonight is, drumroll please, Jay Pachochin from WPI Hunts the Truth. We'll be back in a couple minutes, folks. Stay tuned.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
I want to be a warm place on a cold day.
Football
I want to be a bike that races around the country.
I want to be a bench on a forest trail.
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
This is you over 30 years ago.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
And this is your mom now.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Roles change without us noticing. That's why AARP gives you the information to provide even better care for your loved one. Visit aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
I'm John, a volunteer at United Way. Now, I'm here at Lincoln Elementary School to find out what this place needs. Who knows better about what kids need than kids, right? Let's ask them.
Monsters! Lasers! A pool! Another guinea pig! More lasers! Sprinkles!
I was thinking more spinach at lunchtime and maybe more exercise.
Nah. Lasers are cool.
When it comes to creating healthier communities, what this place needs is you. To donate or volunteer, go to UnitedWay.org, because great things happen when we live united. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Warning. The following program may contain crude or offensive material. If you are easily offended, please change the station now. This program's views and opinions may not be the views and opinions of this station.
All right, folks, we're back for hour number 2 of The Strange Side with Mike and Nate on the Z-Talk Radio Network. Thank you for tuning in tonight. You can listen to all of our past shows. You can go to the show... God. You can go to the shit archive link. No, the show archive links.
Some of them maybe deserve that category.
We're allowed to swear here. We're not under FCC.
Oh, I'm aware.
Nate, did you know that you can go... I'm so concentrated on saying Bachochin right, and everything else is out the window now.
Right.
I do it right. You can call me anything, just don't call me late for dinner.
That's right.
Good.
We'll just call him JB so you can think straight. Let's
JB, that's it. I like it.
www.ztalkradio.com. Go to the show archive link at the top of the page, and you'll find all of our past guests, including this gentleman, Jay Pachochin. Thank you for sticking around for another 15 or so minutes. Let me go back to the
Yeah, we got a question from the chat room that,
it's Sanjay again, and he would thank you, Sanjay, for throwing some questions at us. By the way, was any evidence of physical assault observed on any of the victims?
No foul play, Sanjay. None at all. That's, of course, one of the biggest things that you're looking for is any type of struggle, anything, any hair or skin under the fingernails, anything around the neck, anything around the mouth, any gags. No sign, no physical sighting of any type of foul play at all. And again, the reason why we know this is not by hearsay or the internet, bonjour. This is actually done by one of the retired deputy medical officer that was out there who worked on several of the victims' bodies. So we're getting this firsthand. We're not getting this through a report. We're not getting this through newspaper clippings or TV or whatnot. We're getting it right from the horse's mouth. No offense, Neil, you're not a horse, but we're getting the reports right from there.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about real quick, since we don't have much time, is It says that you guys have currently been researching the Kettle Moraine area and Elkhorn, which is known for the Beast of Bray Road, which is Linda Godfrey. That's pretty much where she hails from, and she's the one who wrote the book on the Beast of Bray Road. Have you teamed up with her at all and worked with her on anything, and what have you guys found?
Yeah, well, Linda and I have worked together. Love Linda. Hello, Linda. I know you're listening too. We have actually done a few outside look at it. What I was going to say is actually an investigation that was actually further north of the Kettle that I worked with her on. And she was gracious enough to ask me along, and she's also helped me a little bit in a little bit of research in the Kettle as well. Again, like I said, the Kettle's kind of I don't want to say the freebie, but it is, because you can go anytime, any day, 24/7. The requests come here or there, and sometimes you have to really search those really hard to make sure they're legitimate. And of course, Linda's the hub of all the cryptid sightings up here, which is great. Kind of like the MUFON for the cryptids, which she takes all the reports and documents those. So yeah, we have worked together, and definitely up in the Kettle too. So some pretty crazy stuff up there.
Have you ever been in the Burlington area? There's Mary Sutherland. She runs the Sci-Fi Cafe.
Yeah, and the Haunted Woods of Burlington.
Yeah, have you ever been out there and investigated? Have you ever?
Yeah, actually, me and my wife went out there. I think it was 2008. We did go up there, and she took us on the tour. I think there was about 10 of us, maybe 12 of us, and kind of walked through the woods then too. And here's the odd thing is that back then I think a little bit more of my focus was more into the ghost phenomenon instead of the interdimensional or the Bigfoot or even the UFOs, even though I've seen them. And things shift and evolve with me, and that's what keeps me fresh and new all the time. I'm not going to ever get stale. But we did go out there. I didn't really experience anything out there, but then again, I'm wondering if I wasn't looking hard enough. It's one of those things when you're not looking is when it happens, and when you're looking, it doesn't. In this case, I wasn't looking for cryptids. I was looking more for the ghosts, maybe of the haunted woods. But I didn't find anything definitive. But I've only been out there one time, and you can't go to any location, house, woods, UFO sighting, or whatnot. You can't go there one time. It's got to be a constant research. That's what I believe.
Okay. What's coming up for your group in 2015, and you got any appearances coming up, stuff like that, stuff you want to promote before we end it?
Yeah, basically, you're hearing just a guy named Jay. You can call me JB or Jay Bachochin. I'm just a guy hunting the truth. I've never been about conventions. I'm not published. I don't have any books that I've written. I'm kind of a fly below the radar type of guy. So I really don't have anything coming up per se. That's not to say nothing will come up, because look at this, you called and asked me to come on here, and I did. And
I didn't
I'm
just
sure
call you. I begged you. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you did. You did. But if somebody else is going to do that as well, I may decide to do that. But I mean, truthfully, when it really comes down to it, it's not about WPI Hunts the Truth becoming popular, top of the chain. Look at us type of thing. It's more what I'm doing personally, and maybe during that time networking with Sanjay there in the chat room and Linda Godfrey. Maybe we do. Come across something, even networking with the guys, down on the Illinois border. Maybe at some point with us networking and not trying to all, shuffle aside to get ahead, we're going to find answers if we stay diligent to what we're doing. And that is what we're doing. So if you're asking what we're doing in 2015, you probably won't find me at any conventions, or you might hear me on the radio here or there if you ask me back, but most likely I'll be out in the woods listening very quietly.
You're not going to wear like a Bigfoot outfit and end up getting hit by a car or anything like that, are you?
Oh, no. I've seen those costumes around, around Halloween time, and I can't believe they sell those. I didn't see anybody in them, but I'm like, it's a really good way to get shot or run over.
Oh, it is. It happened out in Utah, wasn't
Montana.
it? Montana. Some guy wore one. And
it was actually some kind of camouflage military suit he was hoping would be confused for a Bigfoot, and he got ran over by 2 carloads of teenagers because they didn't see him because he was wearing camouflage. So.
Well, and that's exactly right. So, I mean, you really don't know. Actually, my son, who's really, funny when we're driving, he'll drive with me to the kettle. We don't really go out. We do go out during the day sometimes for a nice father-son walk and hike and stuff, but we'll walk and he'll say, okay, Daddy, I know we don't 100% believe in Bigfoot. He could be there. It's really good sight. If you heard it from him, the kid has learned a lot from me in terms of not believing everything you hear. But he said, Daddy, if a Bigfoot just walked across the road right here, would you then believe? And that's an interesting question. My question probably would be no. I would think it was some guy in a suit. I really would.
You haven't seen Harry and the Hendersons?
Yeah, right. Well, no, but the thing is, anybody, there are people that are 7 feet tall, over 7 feet tall. Why not put on a costume and go, try to be a Bigfoot and have a Bigfoot sighting somewhere?
Yeah.
But at the same time, if it took like 2 steps to get across the road, well, then, you're talking a little supernatural strides there. And that might make me think different. But, again, I'm straddling the fence. I'm not a skeptic. I'm not a 100% believer. But I do believe in the possibility, and that's why I do what I do. And I'm hoping to hunt the truth until we find it.
And where can people get a hold of you, or check out your website, or possibly buy the Hidden Truth ? DVD?
Yeah, it's a question mark. I like that, which is true though, because it's a question mark. You could go to www.wpihuntstetruth.com. That's our WPI Hunts the Truth page, where you can actually see who I am and, the bios on ourselves. And I try to keep it fresh. Sometimes it's hard. There's a lot to do with the HTML, but I do try to keep it fresh. And if you are interested in looking to purchase the DVD, you can go to www.hiddentruthproductions.com.
And there
will take you...
Oh, go ahead.
What's that?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that is our production crew, which consists of me, Neil Sanders, and Scott Marcus. We make up Hidden Truth Productions. And, the DVD is there for sale. You could even buy one and get a nice poster with it, too. So you check that out. It's definitely worth it. Just for the story alone, I think is monumental, because this story has not been released before. And it was the first time we actually showed, the public this year, the finished piece. And, it was exciting to do. And I'm hoping to keep researching that as well. So if anybody has any leads, anything that you have any questions on in the paranormal, and that could mean anything not normal, you can get a hold of me at wpi.jay@gmail.com. My direct Gmail comes right to my iPhone. I'll probably reply the second I get it. So that's kind of how I operate.
And you do have a bunch of stuff on YouTube as well that people can take a look at if they want to, get a taste of what you do.
Yes, if you to subscribe or look, and again, this isn't just all paranormal. You're going to see some pretty funny videos because I also do a lot of video editing. It's kind of my side job with Chum Bucket Studios. That's a whole different website, but I got to throw that plug in there. But on my YouTube channel, look up 2007 WPI. And there's several videos on there as well that you can check out. A lot of cool EVPs that we've caught over the year. Let's see, one of my most recent ones, actually with Sanjay still in the chat room, him and I were out in the kettle, just the two of us, and it's so intriguing because you hear Bigfoot throw rocks, okay? Well, we're walking out there in September, it's getting fall, you're hearing acorns falling out of the trees, and you can identify those. But when you start hearing what sounds like, not acorns, being whipped through the trees, you're hearing it hit several different branches and then hitting right in front of you and looking down going, okay, what was that? There was no acorn. We were having some rocks just kind of like tossed at us, here or there, was it an acorn? Was it I don't know. Was it? No, that one was a rock. Wait, that rock just landed here. Well, finally, I kind of got fed up a little bit. I actually stopped on this one path and picked up, a pretty nice sized rock, and then just kind of heaved it, back into the woods where it made a loud clock, against the tree. And I'm filming, by the way, and this is one of the YouTube videos that's up there. And Sanjay was like, "Ooh, that was a good one because it made a nice sound." And I said, "Yeah, watch. I'm going to get pegged with a rock because I threw it." As soon as I said that, a crap load of rocks were whipped at us. I mean, hard. It was just kind of, where is this coming from? You're looking, you're looking out in the woods, and somebody could be in a ghillie suit or military suit, but who's out here and why are they throwing? Who throws rocks?
Damn trolls!
Well, that's what I'm saying. They don't know what we're doing. I'll tell you. That's exactly the reason why I don't tell people where I'm going and when I'm going, just for that reason. So, I mean, who knows? I still believe that on how hard they were thrown, and how accurate they were thrown, because they ended up right at our feet. I can't believe that was just some Joe Schmo out there just playing around. Nobody has that good of an arm. Not even Peyton Manning. Not even Aaron Rodgers. I gotta say it.
Or Russell Wilson.
Shut up, Nate.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, if it was Russell Wilson, they would have been lobbed at us. They wouldn't have come fast.
That would have been a long bomb. I mean, he would have missed you 4 or 5, 6 times, but then he would have hit you when it counted.
Right into the arms of a defender.
There you go.
Except for the last 2 that mattered. Oh, yeah.
Hey, Nate, I am not complaining.
Boy, okay. Just remember, you guys are in Wisconsin. You're on my turf. No.
Yeah,
Jay, thanks a lot. Thanks for coming on, Jay. I appreciate it very, very much. Jay Bachochin from the WPI, the Hidden Truth. Jeez, they hunt the truth. That's what they do. WPI hunts the truth. And that's where you can find Jay.
Yep, and you can also find me on Facebook as well. I mean, you can find me through me on Facebook. And, WPI Hunts the Truth is also a Facebook page. You come and like that. Some of our research that we go out, I will post, in real life time. I'm not trying to create any type of TV, blah, blah, blah. I just want people to know, hey, if we're out there, this is kind of what we're seeing. And we really are. We really get our feet dirty, our hands dirty. Well, not as of late. It's been really cold. You can find us on Facebook, and I will update as we do things. So if you're interested, check that out. Email me if there's any questions on anything paranormal or anything that you think is worth looking into. Check out our website, our DVD. We pretty much got it all.
All right, Jay. Well, thanks for coming on tonight.
Thanks a lot.
We'll have
It's
you
been
on down
fun.
the road and talk some more about some of this stuff because it's pretty fascinating, especially
definitely,
that.
I'll tell you what. Next time, I'll definitely allow 4 hours. How about that?
We'll bump the other show if we can, but we'll shoot for 2 and see what happens.
Well, we'll do 2, and then I'll talk to you guys for another 2 hours afterwards.
All right, Jay. Sounds good.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for coming on, Jay.
All right, thanks.
Sit.
Good night.
Jay Pachochin from WPI Hunts the Truth. Our guest for tonight. He couldn't do the full 2 hours, and so we thought, well, gee, what can we do for another 40 minutes or so?
I'm going to go off script, Mike.
Are you going to go off script? Good.
We originally planned to do...
Our wedding ceremony, didn't we?
Oh.